My name is Michael, and I never imagined that a Wednesday morning would change everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I've been married to Emily for 12 years, and in that time we'd had our ups and downs like any couple. But I always believed we had a foundation strong enough to withstand the chaos of life, bills, work stress, kids, and the endless rush of responsibilities. I was wrong. That morning I walked into the office a little earlier than usual. I had a meeting with my team at 9 a.m., but for some reason I felt compelled to check on a few reports in the conference room first. The building was unusually quiet, only the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a phone ringing in the background. I rounded the corner near the marketing department and froze. There she was, Emily, leaning close to Ryan, her coworker. I don't even know how long they'd been talking like that, but it wasn't normal. Their laughter, the way she rested her hand on his arm, everything screamed betrayal. I could feel my heart pound against my chest, my throat tighten, my stomach sinking into a pit I couldn't escape. I blinked, trying to convince myself I was seeing things. Maybe they were just joking. Maybe it was innocent. But the sight of them made my stomach twist in ways words can't describe. I stepped closer, the click of my shoes echoing in the empty hallway. Suddenly she looked up. Emily's eyes met mine, and for the first time that morning, an icy wave of realization washed over her face. She knew I'd seen everything. I didn't say a word. I didn't scream or yell. I simply reached down to my left hand where my wedding ring rested, shining faintly under the office lights. Slowly, deliberately, I removed it. My fingers clenched around the cool metal, twisting it tightly, feeling the weight of 12 years in a small circle of gold. The pressure in my chest wasn't just anger, it was clarity. I realized I had spent years pouring everything I had into a relationship that no longer existed in the way I thought it did. Ryan's eyes widened. His posture stiffened, but I ignored him. My gaze was fixed on Emily, who now looked pale, caught off guard, uncertain, and I could swear afraid. For a moment there was silence so thick you could hear every shallow breath, every heartbeat. The office, which had been buzzing with quiet activity just moments ago, seemed frozen in time. I remembered the nights I'd stayed up late making sure the kids' homework was done, the weekends I sacrificed to attend her family events, the dinners I cooked when I was exhausted from work. I remembered every single effort I had put in, every smile I faked when she shrugged me off, every word of affection that went unanswered. And now, standing there holding the symbol of our marriage in my hand, I realized it was no longer enough. Not for her. She opened her mouth, probably to explain, apologize, or maybe deny. But I cut her off with a look, not a threatening one, not a scream-filled glare, but a look that said, "I see you and I understand now." I had been a ghost in my own life for too long, trying to preserve something that had already vanished without my consent. I felt a strange combination of sorrow and relief wash over me. My grip on the ring tightened, not out of rage, but as if I were holding on to my own sense of dignity. Ryan tried to speak again, stammering some excuse, but I turned my attention fully to Emily. There was no more room for confusion, for doubt, for compromise. I had made my decision. The people in nearby cubicles had started to notice. Whispers floated through the office, but I didn't care. Everything else blurred except for the truth in front of me. My marriage, at least the version I thought existed, had ended the moment I saw her there with him. And yet, in that moment I wasn't angry. I was awake. I put the ring carefully in my pocket. My hand remained clenched around it, a private reminder of all I had given, all I had tolerated, and all I had finally decided to reclaim. Emily's face was still pale, her mouth slightly open, eyes wide with a mix of guilt, fear, and regret. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of control that I hadn't known I'd lost. I knew what I had to do next. I just didn't know if she would understand, or if anyone else in that office would. But I also knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never allow myself to be invisible again. I took a slow step back, letting the silence stretch between us. Emily's breathing was shallow, her hands fidgeting nervously on the edge of the desk. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I didn't give her a chance. This wasn't about argument or explanation. It was about reclaiming the part of me I had lost long ago. The part that deserved honesty, respect, and dignity. I walked past Ryan first, making sure he understood without a word that I wasn't someone to test. His smug confidence from earlier had completely evaporated, replaced by uncertainty, the kind that comes when someone finally realizes they're not in control and never were. I could see it in the way he shifted his weight, in the twitch of his hands, in the way his jaw tightened. He wanted to speak, but no words could undo the look on Emily's face, the one I had seen when she knew she'd been caught. I stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could see every line of my face, but not so close that it felt threatening. I let my eyes linger on hers, and I could see the storm of emotion struggling to form words. I wanted to say something, anything, but the truth didn't need embellishment. The silence said it all. Finally, she whispered almost apologetically, "Michael." I shook my head slowly, a small bitter smile tugging at my lips. "There's nothing to say anymore, Emily. I've already said everything I needed to with my actions." Her eyes widened further, maybe realizing for the first time that actions speak louder than any apology or excuse. 12 years gone in a single glance. And for a moment I let the weight of that reality settle, not as a punishment but as clarity. I had been invisible for too long, and now I was seen. I turned and walked toward the elevator, each step steady and deliberate, feeling the strength that comes from making a choice that honors yourself. Whispers followed me down the hall, but they were irrelevant. The people in the office could speculate, gossip, even judge, but none of it mattered. The only opinion that mattered was mine, and it had finally been reclaimed. When I reached the elevator, I paused and looked back once. Emily was frozen in her spot, Ryan a few steps behind her, and the office had returned to a kind of stunned stillness. I could see it in her eyes. Regret, fear, and perhaps the faintest spark of understanding that I was no longer hers to manipulate or control. That realization was worth more than any argument, any fight, or any confrontation I had imagined. I stepped into the elevator, letting the doors close behind me, and felt a strange mix of freedom and sadness. 12 years of memories, laughter, and shared moments. All of it condensed into a few seconds of truth. But this wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about anger. It was about reclaiming my life from a relationship that had quietly stripped away my self-respect. By the time I reached the lobby, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to let this betrayal define me. I wasn't going to become bitter or vengeful. I would live my life fully, honestly, and without compromise for someone who had already chosen someone else. And if Emily tried to reach me, if she tried to explain or apologize, I would listen with the same calm clarity I had shown in the office, detached, resolute, unshaken. Walking out into the bright morning light in downtown Seattle, I felt the crisp air fill my lungs like a baptism. The city buzzed around me, unaware of the small yet monumental change that had just occurred in the life of one man. I clenched the ring in my pocket again, a reminder not of what I had lost, but of what I had finally found: my dignity, my strength, and the freedom to choose myself. The weeks that followed were quiet but transformative. I redirected my energy to work, to friendships, and to moments that reminded me of who I was outside of the marriage. And every so often, when someone mentioned Emily, I realized I didn't feel the sting of betrayal anymore. I felt peace, the kind of peace that comes from facing the truth and having the courage to walk away. Then one afternoon, I returned to the office for a routine meeting. Emily was there, looking tense and uncomfortable. She avoided my gaze entirely. Ryan tried to make small talk, but I ignored him. And for the first time, the power dynamics had shifted. The air between us wasn't filled with hostility or regret. It was just calm clarity. She had her choices. I had mine. And neither of us could take that away from the other. That day, I realized something profound. The moment you stop allowing yourself to be invisible, everything changes. You see the truth clearly, act decisively, and reclaim control over your life. Emily's betrayal had not destroyed me. It had awakened me. And as I walked out of the office again, the sunlight felt warmer, the streets wider, and the world full of possibilities that no one, not even the people I once trusted most, could ever take away.